All right, bro, no intro, no story, no nothing. We're just going to get straight into this. First things first, if you're someone who struggles with learning how to speak better, then by the end of this video, your speaking skills are going to increase by 50%, 75%, so long as you take these points home. First things first, diaphragmatic breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing literally just means, you know how usually you speak from your chest? And when you speak from your chest, or when you breathe from your chest, it sounds a little bit weaker. Diaphragmatic breathing is where you speak all the way down to your belly. Now, what this literally just means is that you take deep breaths, and you make sure that your belly is rising, but your chest isn't. And one more thing I noticed too was that on average, people just speak from their chest. People kind of speak in this, low, soft, basic kind of way that's kind of quiet. And what I've realized is that the more that you speak from your belly, the more that you do this diaphragmatic breathing where you make sure chest is low, belly goes up. The more you do that, the more likely you are to start speaking that way on average, and the more likely people are to start respecting just hearing you talk. And then you couple that with a few other points that we're about to get into, and just like that, boom, people hearing you. So that's definitely a W. But remember, diaphragmatic breathing, so simple. Talk from the belly, not from the chest. Just like in every other self-improvement video, the ones that you've seen from this book right here. Read this book too. It's a good-ass book. You know the drill, right? To make your speech simply better, deep breaths, down to the belly, make sure your belly is expanding, but make sure your chest isn't rising. Is that a bar? I think that's a bar. It's as simple as that. Just keep on doing that over and over again, and then notice how every time you do that and every time you speak, there's going to be more of a change. Even when you're in a more quieter environment, you can still do this exact practice. You can still speak from your belly, even in a lower, quieter environment. You can still make your voice sound good. Does that make sense? Hope that's clear for you, bro. I hope you get that. So let's move on to the second point. And this second point is going to be the last point because I would like for this video to come out before 2025. Yeah. So I got 2 points, all right? Yeah, pretty much 2 points. First point, articulation. Second point will be pausing. We'll get into that in a second. But articulation. And articulation is just how you can get the words to come out of your mouth in a way that sounds good. So you're never going to believe what I actually did to make my articulation sound so much better. All right, get ready for this. You won't be ready for this. Any YouTuber, any charisma coach, no one's going to be expecting what I'm about to say, all right? What I did to make my articulation sound much better than what it previously sounded like before was speak to a camera. Oh my God. I just kept on talking, kept on talking. And then eventually my words got to the point where I could spit them out and actually make them sound distinct and clear. But the easiest practice that I can give you, it's so simple. What I used to do, you can actually scroll down on this channel. You can scroll down all the way down to around the first few videos where I was grabbing I used to just grab a book, right? And what I would do is just read pages out of the book itself. Men will pay to watch. Oh, that's. Wait, this man is fucking crazy, bro. I open the book and the first page I get to is men will pay to see women express. But yeah, what I used to do is record myself reading these books or reading these sentences out loud. And by doing that, I get to hear myself speak out loud. So I notice that the words that I say and the way that I hear things in my mind isn't the same as the way that I speak them out loud. So as I go throughout these sentences, like, as you behold her, receive her vision as a blessing. I would say these words over and over again until they sounded much better. I'd say them in different tones, different ways, and it worked. They sounded much better around as the videos kept going, eventually to the point where I stopped using the book overall and I began just speaking in front of the camera like this. I actually, when I was starting off YouTube, this is like a personal side note. When I was starting off YouTube, I had no idea how I was going to get to the point of just talking to the camera. I thought, I'll be dead serious, I thought that was an impossible thing to do. There's literally no way I can just sit on the camera and just speak. But eventually, as I started to go throughout this whole process, throughout this whole journey of just, reading through this, I realized, wait, eventually I can just get the words in my brain to just come out in a way that sounds so much clearer, in a way that portrays an actual message to the person on the other side in a way that I can put something down, I can put a concept down, and that other person can grab it and actually materialize it. Articulation is a whole different world. So that's the biggest takeaway you can take from that. The best way to gain any sort of higher level of articulation is to, as I just said, read these sentences out loud to yourself. That's one way. Another way you can do that is just by reading more in general, which will improve your lexicon, which is just your language. There's a word for it, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's just vocabulary, general vocabulary inside of your brain. So by listening to bullshit stuff that has nothing to do with improving your lexicon, improving how often you come across difficult words or challenging words like this, will lessen and lower the likelihood of your articulation being more clear. Does that make sense? If it does, I hope so. If it doesn't, then I don't know. Figure something out. I'm kidding. But let's get into the next one, all right? Pausing. Pausing is pretty much the concept of allowing spaces and gaps in between your speech. And the reason why you would do this is so that people can get more, they can hold the value of the information you're saying without it feeling like it's just being, overridden. They're not just going yabbling, yap, and they're like, hang on. Give me a second to like think about what you just said. Instead, the other person's just going, yap. And the other day I did this, and the other day I did that. And it's like, hold on, bro. Relax. Give me a second to think. That's exactly what yapping is. Yapping is just talk. I drew an analogy just so that you could understand it better. Think about it like this, all right? So, right here, above water, right? So think about a pool. Now, when you're under the water, you have to hold your breath, right? You have to hold your breath. Think about you being underwater as you getting all the information from someone or some sort of source. All they're doing is just talking to you, right? It's you being underwater. That's you listening and collecting the information. When you get a chance to go above water, when you get a chance to think, that's when the other person is pausing. That's when that other person gives you a second to breathe and to digest all that information that's just been said. Another thing I heard this from, or I saw this video a few days back, and I was like, that's a good ass example, was this one video of Kanye when he was on, I think it was the Grammys, and he was talking about, he had this like badass quote, okay? I haven't said that in a long ass time. He had this quote, and I was thinking, holy shit, that's powerful as fuck. And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, the reason why that quote is powerful as shit is because he had that pause. Let me show you real quick.
Everybody want to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
So you hear that, right? The reason why that statement or what he just said, his quote was so it went so hard, right? The reason why it went so hard, it was so fire, was because he gave around that, 2 to 3 second pause for the audience to be like, oh shit, he means what he's saying. He dead ass gave them, like when he said, everyone would want to know what I would do if I didn't win. As soon as he said that, his audience were underwater. Now, when he began his pause, they gained a second to breathe, right? In that second to breathe, in that few seconds of just no talking at all, they were thinking, okay, what's he going to say next? What's he going to say next? What's he going to do? They're waiting for his next response. In those 3 seconds, he then delivered one of the most fire, amazing lines. Honestly, just, I'm not glazing. And because of that pause, it just sounded so much better. Here's what it would sound like without the pause.
Everybody want to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
I mean, yeah, I guess the fire is there, the line is all right, but at the same time, you're underwater for the entire thing. You're underwater, there's just straight up yap, you're rambling, it doesn't hit the same. That pause is literally what makes the entire sentence, what makes the entire line. Just remember that. Remember that whenever you're talking, give some pauses here and there. When you're talking to someone, make sure that if you're explaining a whole concept to them, stop for a second and be like, do you get what I mean? Do you understand? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Before you keep on going, because you could be at stage 1 of a point that you want to ramble about, and then just have no pauses. And then go on to point 2, whilst the person that's trying to listen to you is like, hang on, I'm still talking about this one thing on point 1. When you say, you get what I mean? And they're like, no, not really. You can be like, oh, okay, well, let me explain this to you even more. And then get on to your next point, your next point, your next point. Just like that. So that was it. Pausing, articulation, and diaphragmatic breathing. Easiest ways to become a better speaker. Also, another thing, I'm going to have this channel be named AJ Olympio. Olympio is just my middle name, and I decided to do that because, first off, it sounds cool. Second of all, my friend helped me out with it. He was like, AJ, that's a good-ass name. That should be your channel name because, you know, your name's got to be more direct. People got to put in a full name if they want to find my channel more often. So I was thinking, yeah, I may as well do that. So, AJ Olympio. Yeah, just like that. I'll catch you later, bro. Don't be a dummy. Oh yeah, first link in the description. Join my Discord. Free charisma course. See ya, bro.